Last night, at the 5-year anniversary party that I planned, that I paid for, with 40 guests watching, my wife sat next to him. She laughed at his jokes. She touched his arm. She leaned into him in ways she hasn't leaned into me in 2 years. And when I looked at her, when she knew I was watching, she smiled and kept going. So I stood up, raised my glass, and announced, "Thank you all for coming. Special thanks to Marcus for making tonight truly unforgettable. Now if you will excuse me, I have a flight to catch." I had booked a one-way ticket to Edinburgh 30 minutes earlier, right there at the dinner table, on my phone. Let me back up. I am James, 34, senior financial analyst, at an investment bank in Manhattan. I make $185,000 a year plus bonuses. I am the guy who color codes his closet and tracks every expense in spreadsheets. My wife Rebecca, Becca to everyone, is 32. A marketing director pulling $95,000. We have been married 5 years. No kids yet because she wanted to wait until 35. We live in a 2-bedroom penthouse on the Upper West Side. Rent is $6,500 a month. My name on the lease. I pay 75%. I'm not bragging, details matter. I built our life on precision. A custom smart home I installed myself. Lutron lighting, Sonos in every room, Nest thermostats, a $25,000 vintage wine collection, high-end audio, everything planned. That's who I am for 2 years. My marriage felt off less intimacy. Becca working late and constantly on her phone. I blamed career pressure and trusted her. 3 weeks before our anniversary, Becca suggested a party. I planned everything, an $8,000 budget, a private chef, expensive wine, flowers, custom lighting, and 40 guests. 2 weeks before, she asked to invite Marcus, a new co-worker. I agreed, but after that she mentioned him constantly. On the day of the party, everything was perfectly prepared. Becca wore a new red dress. Guests arrived at 7. And the night began smoothly. When Marcus arrived, Becca lit up, introducing him repeatedly as a rising star at her company. At dinner, despite my planned seating, Becca moved Marcus to the honor seat beside her. As the courses progressed, she laughed openly with him, touched his arm several times, and leaned in, fully focused on him. Others noticed and grew uncomfortable while I tried to convince myself I was overthinking it. By 9 o'clock, dinner was served, but Becca and Marcus were absorbed in private jokes. At 9:10, she flirted, tucking her hair behind her ear, something she hadn't done with me in years. At 9:15, Marcus mentioned they'd worked late together the previous week, ordering Thai food the same night Becca told me she was with someone else. When our eyes met, her smile faltered, then turned confident as she went back to him. I knew then it was intentional. Cold clarity set in. I quietly booked a one-way British Airways flight to Edinburgh for 11:45 that night. At 9:25, I stood and addressed the room, thanking everyone, and pointedly thanking Marcus for his late-night stories with my wife. In stunned silence, I announced my departure. Becca confronted me. I calmly said I was done. I told her the night was paid for. The apartment would be handled by lawyers, and asked the guests to stay and enjoy themselves. Before leaving, I set a 90-minute timer on the smart home system. After that, the music, lights, and temperature would shut down. I said goodbye and walked out. I walked out, got in the Uber I had called while setting the timer, drove to JFK, checked in for business class, didn't look back. Now I am sitting in a boutique hotel in Edinburgh, looking out at Edinburgh Castle. My phone has 47 missed calls from Becca, 12 from my mother, 6 from Marcus, which is insane. Dozens of texts. I blocked Becca's number somewhere over the Atlantic. I emailed my lawyer from the plane. I don't know if I overreacted, but I know one thing. I will never sit there and watch my wife flirt with another man in the home I pay for. At the party I planned, did I do the right thing? Update 1. 1 week later, I thanked everyone for the support and said I was doing better than expected. After arriving in Edinburgh, I woke up Saturday to dozens of missed calls and hundreds of texts. I temporarily unblocked Becca to read them and see how her story changed from anger and insults to blame, then to pleading and concern once she realized I was gone. I didn't reply. Instead, I analyzed the situation. I reviewed our shared credit card statements for the past 3 months and started looking for patterns. One charge stood out. A $320 dinner at a Michelin star restaurant on a night Becca told me she was casually meeting a friend. That discovery made it clear something was wrong. I found more suspicious charges: late-night drinks at a midtown hotel bar, an expensive lunch at a romantic restaurant she claimed was for clients, and then a $450 room service charge at the Langham Hotel on the 8th of October, the same day Becca said she was at a company retreat in Boston. That charge shook me. I checked our old location sharing history and confirmed it. Her phone was at the Langham in Manhattan for 9 hours that day. The retreat was a lie. I documented everything: credit card charges, location data, and connected the timeline to Marcus, who joined her company 6 months earlier, right when her behavior changed. With the evidence organized, I contacted a family law attorney about divorce and asset protection, citing our prenup's infidelity clause. Later that day, my sister called. Becca was at her apartment, crying and asking me to come home. I agreed to speak with her. She insisted Marcus was just a friend and accused me of humiliating her. When she finished, I calmly asked one question: where she was on October 8th. She said Boston. The silence afterward told me everything. I confronted Becca with proof from Find My iPhone and a $450 room service charge at the Langham on the 8th of October. She panicked and claimed the retreat had moved to Manhattan, which I dismissed. I told her I'd already spoken to a lawyer, cited our prenup's infidelity clause, and gave her until Wednesday to move out or be escorted by police. She protested, but I reminded her the lease was in my name, then ended the call and blocked her. Later, Marcus messaged me on LinkedIn, claiming nothing physical happened and saying he'd requested a transfer. I didn't reply and forwarded the message to my attorney. My mother then called, upset about the public scene, but when I told her I had proof of the affair, her tone changed. She and my father supported me and offered help. Sunday morning in Edinburgh, David and Michael surprised me at my hotel, having flown in to support me. We spent the weekend hiking, sightseeing, and doing whiskey tastings, letting me process everything without pressure. That night, I told them the full story, and they agreed my prenup and evidence put me in a strong legal position. I plan to return to New York Wednesday, with my sister Emma supervising Becca's move out. Monday, my lawyer confirmed the case was solid and advised me to document everything and avoid direct contact, sharing the email with my friends. I felt relief for the first time. On Tuesday, Emma called to confirm Becca had moved out under supervision. Wednesday, I returned to New York. Coming back to the apartment felt surreal. Everything was unchanged, but emotionally distant. Emma left a note confirming Becca was gone, and that my parents wanted to talk. I walked through the apartment, checked every room. The closet where her clothes used to be was empty. The bathroom counter where her makeup lived was clear. The second bedroom where she had her home office was stripped. She was gone. Really gone. I sat on the couch, the same couch where we used to watch movies on Sunday mornings, and I felt nothing. No sadness, no regret, just a quiet, calm nothing. Thursday morning, 9 a.m. I sat across from Sarah Chen in her office in Midtown. She was exactly what David had described: sharp, no nonsense, direct. James, I have prepared a preliminary filing based on the prenuptial agreement and the evidence of infidelity. Here is what we are looking at. She walked me through everything: asset division, the apartment, the wine collection, my investment accounts. Because of the infidelity clause, Becca would forfeit her claim to most marital assets. It was clear. It was fair. It was over. I am back in New York now. The lawyer meeting is done. The apartment is mine again, though it feels empty. Becca has moved out. Emma confirmed she is staying with her parents in New Jersey. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing with absolute certainty. I didn't overreact. The evidence speaks for itself. $450 in room service location data that destroys her alibi. 6 months of lies. I made the right call walking out of that party. I will update again when there is progress. For now, I am just taking it one day at a time. Update 2. 1 month later I explained that divorce is slow, costly, and unglamorous. After returning from Edinburgh, I met with my lawyer, Sarah Chen, who required a $15,000 retainer at $450 an hour. We spent 2 hours reviewing my case and the prenuptial agreement my parents had insisted on. The prenup kept my premarital assets separate, but its infidelity clause was critical. Proven infidelity meant forfeiting all marital assets. Sarah emphasized the high standard of proof and the need for a strong case. I presented all my evidence, credit card statements showing suspicious charges, including the hotel room service and location data, proving Becca was in Manhattan on the 8th of October. Sarah confirmed the evidence was solid and asked what else I had. I showed my lawyer a full export of our text history, which revealed that Becca mentioned Marcus 140 times in 4 months, with no mentions before March. Sarah noted the behavioral pattern and identified witnesses, my sister Emma, and my friends David and Michael, who had seen Becca's conduct at the anniversary dinner. She said the evidence showed a clear pattern of deception, and proposed deposing Marcus, believing he might crack under oath. Soon after, Becca responded through an aggressive attorney who accused me of abandonment and emotional abuse, demanded half of all assets including my premarital investments, spousal support, and claimed the prenup was signed under duress. Sarah dismissed this as a pressure tactic and recommended going on the offensive by deposing both Becca and Marcus. 3 weeks later, Marcus was subpoenaed and deposed at Sarah's office. Under questioning, he admitted to being alone with Becca after hours and became visibly uncomfortable when confronted with evidence, placing them at the Langham Hotel on the 8th of October and a $450 room service charge, claiming he couldn't recall the details. During Marcus's deposition, Sarah asked directly whether he and Becca had a physical relationship during her marriage. Under oath, Marcus admitted they kissed once at the Langham Hotel after working late and ordering room service, insisting nothing else happened and saying the guilt led him to transfer to Los Angeles. A week later, Becca was deposed. She initially denied any physical intimacy, then admitted also under oath that she and Marcus kissed once. When pressed, she confirmed it happened in a hotel room at the Langham on the 8th of October. Sarah continued questioning to establish the full context, despite objections from Becca's lawyer. Under oath, Becca admitted she and Marcus were alone in a hotel room at the Langham, wearing hotel robes after ordering $450 in room service, and that they kissed. Sarah documented everything, exposing a clear pattern of deception that was now officially on the record. Soon after, Becca's lawyer threatened a long, costly public trial. Sarah countered by outlining how damaging the evidence would be in court and proposed a firm settlement. Becca would receive her car, personal items, and $12,000 from joint savings, waive all spousal support, and forfeit any claim to James's premarital assets. James would keep the apartment and assets, pay Becca's $8,000 credit card debt, and add a $20,000 final payment. After negotiations, the deal was accepted. The total cost to James was $56,000, including legal fees. Sarah advised signing, and he agreed it was worth it to move on. Afterward, Marcus' reputation suffered and his transfer became permanent. Becca was reassigned after an HR investigation. Friends split in their support, while James's family fully stood by him, offering consistent care and support. Then something unexpected happened. Becca's parents called me. Her father, Richard, who had always been cordial but distant. "James, we need to talk. Can we meet for coffee?" I agreed, more out of curiosity than anything. We met at a Starbucks near their house in New Jersey. Richard and Diane sat across from me, both looking uncomfortable. Richard spoke first. "We had no idea about any of it. Becca told us you had been controlling, that you had walked out over nothing. But then we heard about the depositions. We asked her directly. She finally told us the truth. Diane was crying softly. "We are so sorry, James. We raised her better than this. We thought we did anyway." I didn't know what to say. "I appreciate you telling me," Richard nodded. "You deserved better. You were a good husband to her. We just wanted you to know that we know that." A month after signing the settlement, I found myself sitting in the apartment alone on a Friday night. The same apartment where the anniversary party had happened. I had redecorated. New couch, the old one had too many memories. Rearranged the furniture, changed the lighting schemes in the smart home system. It felt different now, mine. I wasn't happy exactly, but I felt something better. Relief, like a thorn had been pulled out. I had lost 5 years and $56,000, but I had gained something more valuable. My dignity, my self-respect. I kept thinking about that moment at the dinner table. Becca looking at me, knowing I was uncomfortable and smiling. Then turning back to Marcus. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't a mistake. That was calculated. That was a test to see how much disrespect I would tolerate. And I had answered by walking out. I would never forget that feeling, and I would never let anyone treat me that way again. I started dating casually, nothing serious. A few coffee dates. One dinner with someone Emma set me up with. I wasn't ready for anything real yet, but it felt good to be out in the world again. The apartment didn't feel like a mausoleum anymore. It felt like a starting point. The divorce would be finalized in 6 weeks. The paperwork was processing through the courts. Life was moving forward. I would post a final update when everything was official. But for now, I was okay. Actually, more than okay. I was free. Final update 1 year later, 1 year after the anniversary dinner that ended my marriage. I shared an update. Becca transferred departments after the HR investigation. Is dating someone new. And Weavy had no contact since the divorce, a clean break. Marcus stayed in Los Angeles. His career stabilized but never fully recovered from the fallout. And he's also in a new relationship. I am still living in the same apartment, but I redecorated and simplified my life. The space feels new. 4 months after the divorce was finalized, I was promoted to vice president, with a significant raise and greater responsibility. Work helped carry me through the toughest period. I am now dating Sophie, a 31-year-old architect I met at a professional conference in Boston. What started as coffee turned into a serious, healthy relationship. I told her everything early on, and instead of pulling away, she respected my choice to walk away and heal. Sophie values boundaries, honesty, and patience. There's no pressure about the future, just mutual respect and steady growth. 3 months ago, she moved to New York for a job she loves. We're not living together yet, but we see each other often, and the relationship feels stable and genuine. After a year of reflection, Ivy learned to trust my instincts. The warning signs were there long before the anniversary dinner, but I ignored them and doubted myself. I wouldn't do that again. Second, document everything. This sounds cynical, but it is practical. The evidence I collected, the credit card statements, the location data, the text messages, it saved me over $100,000 in the settlement. The prenup saved my premarital assets. I walked away from that marriage with my financial security intact, because I protected myself legally. Always have a prenup. Always keep records. Always protect yourself, because when things go bad, they go bad fast. Third, don't stay for sunk cost. 5 years of marriage feels like a lot. It feels like throwing away half a decade of your life to walk away. But you know what is worse? 10 years with the wrong person, 20 years, a lifetime. Those 5 years taught me what I don't want. They showed me who I don't want to be. That is valuable. The sunk cost fallacy will keep you trapped in misery if you let it. Cut your losses and move forward. Fourth, and this is the most important one, respect is non-negotiable. Love is not enough. Passion is not enough. Chemistry is not enough. You need respect. Fundamental, baseline, unwavering respect. When Becca looked at me across that dinner table, saw that I was uncomfortable, and smiled before turning back to Marcus to continue flirting, that was the moment I knew. she didn't respect me. Maybe she never did. Maybe she loved me in her way. But love without respect is worthless. It is toxic. Sophie respects me. I feel it in every interaction. That is what I will never settle for less than again. I learned that you can control other people's actions, only your response. I couldn't stop Becca from cheating, but I could choose whether to stay or leave. I chose to leave, valuing my dignity over comfort, and that decision changed my life. I don't regret walking out of the anniversary dinner or making it public. She had months to be honest and chose not to. Inviting Marcus, flirting with him in front of everyone, and ignoring my pain was not a mistake. It was deliberate. I refused to tolerate that disrespect and acted with clarity, not impulse. The year after was difficult and I had moments of doubt, but remembering her deliberate humiliation always confirmed I made the right choice. When Sophie later asked if I'd ever consider reconciling with Becca, my answer was no. That chapter is closed. Sophie's response showed me this relationship is different, built on mutual respect, trust, and sincerity. I want anyone in a similar situation to trust their instincts and stop making excuses for behavior that disrespects them. Don't stay out of fear or sacrifice your self-respect for someone else's comfort. I started over at 34, thinking I had failed. But this became the best year of my life because I chose to live authentically. I am building something real with someone who truly values me. And everyone deserves that kind of respect, affection, and loyalty. The same apartment where everything fell apart is now where I am creating a new life, filled with peace, meaningful connections, and hope. Next month, Sophie and I are traveling to Scotland, returning to the place where I found clarity, this time with the right person, knowing my worth, and moving forward with confidence.